And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back the incredible New York Times best-selling author, Jennifer McMahon, here to give us the inside pre-launch scoop on Children on the Hill, out tomorrow. Jennifer, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this crazy book.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here, Sara. This is going to be so much fun.
Yay.
Yes, it's out tomorrow. Children on the Hill. It's kind of an exploration of all things monster and monstrous. There are two storylines. There's a storyline in 1978 where we meet Vi and her little brother Eric, who are two kids growing up on the grounds of a small private psychiatric hospital run by their grandmother, who is the head psychiatrist there. And it's a quirky, interesting place to grow up. And they have kind of an idyllic childhood. They're being homeschooled. They spend a lot of time outside, and they are monster obsessed. Love all things monster. They have a monster club. They're writing a book about monsters. They go to the drive-in to see monster movies every Saturday night. And they're just living their life, and things are great. And one day their grandmother brings home a patient of hers who is a girl, kind of their age, which is really bizarre because the inn where she works doesn't treat kids. And she seems like she's gone through some trauma. And kids try to help her figure out who she is and where she's come from, and in the process discover some sort of dark secrets about the inn and their grandmother. And a little bit of the backstory. And then we have a present day story, which is also really exciting. In 2019, one of the kids is grown up to be a very popular podcaster who has a monster podcast where she goes around the country hunting monsters and talking about monsters. And and the book is there's a lot of me in this book. There really is. I grew up in the 1970s, raised by my psychiatrist grandmother, and I was monster obsessed when I was a kid. So I wove little bits and pieces of me into it for sure.
Ooh, well, I can't wait to get into every single bit of it. I want to talk about your monster obsession. I want to talk about your grandmother, the psychiatrist. We got a lot to talk about, Jennifer. And first, I just want to welcome everyone who is watching with us. We are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching, you're in the right place. This is the right time for hashtag Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. So we are chatting with New York Times bestselling author Jennifer McMahon, and this is your chance to ask this incredible New York Times bestselling author horror book of the year on Goodreads nominee Jennifer McMahon anything, because if anybody knows scary, it is this lady right here. So if you're watching in a private Facebook group, there's a funky privacy setting, so you're going to be very mysterious unless you click that enable us to see your face setting, but you can stay on brand. You can say mystery. So we have Leslie joining us from Canada saying hello. That's her signature Canadian hello. And she says, this is so exciting. I can't wait to read this book. Leslie, welcome to the conversation. We also have Bookstagrammer extraordinaire Carrie White Shields in the audience. Carrie, welcome to the conversation. She is saying, I loved this book. I can't wait to have a finished copy on my shelf. Carrie, tell us what you loved about this book, because I know you review a ton of mysteries and thrillers. Tell us what you loved. Can't wait to hear. Melissa Watson joining us live from Australia saying, good day, Sara and Melissa. Monsters are cool. Monsters are cool. Karen Avila, welcome to the conversation, saying hello. Karen, so great to have you. Welcome. So if anybody has any questions for Jennifer, get them going in the comments. I'll get them right over to her. And meanwhile, I'm going to kick off with some of the amazing praise that this book is earning. So Publishers Weekly awarded you a starred review. Congratulations on that. Raving that this is a stellar take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. McMahon keeps the reader wondering how much is real and how much is imagined. This is a must read for psychological thriller fans. So first of all, congratulations on your starred review. That's incredible. And let's talk about how you exactly keep us guessing, because I was guessing. I had no idea what was going on until I got to the end. So let's talk about that. How'd you do it?
So I am not a plotter or planner. So when I started this book, when I start any book, I just kind of dive in and go. And this book was it took a while to write. I had a lot of false starts. I knew that I wanted to write a story about sort of exploring themes of monsters and monstrousness and incorporating a bit of my background with my grandmother and my love of all things monster, and inspired by my favorite monster book of all times, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But I wasn't sure how to start. And it was only when I had the character of Vi, the girl in the book, once I got her into my head and I started writing scenes from her perspective, then the book started to just sort of flow from me. And the first scene I actually wrote was Vi sitting on the porch of her grandmother's house reading Frankenstein. That was the first scene I wrote. And from there, the book sort of started to grow around that scene. And I don't want to say too much, but there is a twist in the book. And I had that pretty early on. And I kind of built the book around that twist, sort of almost like a pole in the middle of a big circus tent. And yeah, when I'm writing, I really like to put in all the twists and turns and thrills and chills. And some of those come during the first draft, and some of those come later on when I'm rewriting and revising and wanting to make sure that it's going to be pretty exciting for the reader. But if it's not exciting for me, because as I'm writing that first draft, as I'm writing it, because I don't know where I'm going, it has to be exciting for me. And I think that's probably where a lot of it comes from in the beginning. Is I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm writing as fast as I can to find out.
Ooh, okay. Well, I like to picture you just writing as fast as your little fingers can fly over that keyboard. Melissa McGovern saying, hello, I absolutely loved reading an early copy of this. It is easily my favorite book of the year now. Wow, Melissa McGovern, high praise there. Thanks for joining the conversation. And we have another mysterious fan saying, this has been my favorite. Oh, we have Christina Cook, our founder of Bitchy Bookworms, one of our two fierce founders of Bitchy Bookworms. Christina Cook, huge fan of yours, saying this is her favorite book by Jennifer. Yay, Christina, welcome to the conversation, and thank you for chiming in. I'm not sure why it's not showing, because I know you said you clicked that privacy enable. Let's hope it'll catch up with us. Christina, tell us what you loved about this book. Christina reads and reviews a ton of mysteries and thrillers, so that is high praise coming from Queen Cook there. We have another fan saying that this book sucked them in immediately. My review compared it to the more poignant episodes of Supernatural when Sam and Dean were kids. Fascinating. I'm loving that. Now, Jennifer, you're saying that there's a lot of you in this book, that you were obsessed with monsters growing up, but your grandmother was a psychiatrist. So let's delve in a little more about what of you is in this book. So let's start with your grandmother. So Vi and Eric's grandmother, who brings home the strange Iris, one of her patients, they start to realize maybe Gran's not as innocent as she is. Your grandmother was a psychiatrist at a time when women weren't really psychiatrists. What was that like growing up with her?
It was really interesting. She was a remarkable, brilliant woman. So she was born in 1900. She went to medical school in the 20s. I know, it's crazy. And it was at a time when women, when they were in medical school, were sort of expected that they would go into like obstetrics and gynecology and the things that if you had the audacity to be a doctor, if you were a woman, you were going to deal with ladies and lady issues and babies. But she said her story was that she wandered into a psychiatry lecture one day in medical school and absolutely fell in love and knew from that point on that's what she wanted to do. And so I was raised in my grandmother's house with my grandmother, and she was and she worked into her late 70s, or I almost feel like maybe even early 80s. She worked quite late. She wasn't driving anymore. She was getting rides to work. And because it was the 70s, things were different. There weren't the like confidentiality issues that we have today. So our house growing up was full of not only her psychiatrist friends, but her patients and ex-patients came to visit us all the time. And they would come for just like visit during the day. They would come for dinner. There was a woman who came on holidays. And they came for visits in the summer. There was a gentleman who came for 2 weeks every summer, and they would just come and stay. And they were characters in our lives, and they were just grandma's patients. And it was,
Wow.
it was a pretty interesting way to grow up. And she also, in her room, she had a library full of medical books, and I used to love to look through those. And she kind of taught me to think scientifically. And I idolized her when I was a kid, and I wanted to be a doctor like her when I grew up. And she had me. I remember when I was a little kid doing like surgery on my stuffed animals and cutting them open, and her teaching me how to do the stitches. And then when I got older, she did kind of questionable things. Like there's a scene in the book where the grandmother character teaches Vi how to make a killing jar for mice with a piece of cotton soaked in chloroform. And my grandmother did that with me. We had a pet hamster who was sick, and she said, "Oh, we're going to make a killing jar, and we're going to take this chloroform and soak some cotton ball and soak it in a cotton ball." And she had me drop the hamster in and put the lid on the jar. And that was just one of the things we did in our house growing up. Yeah.
So when you put the hamster to sleep, when you put him in the killing jar as a little kid, was your grandmother like, "Well, it's his time to go. This is a scientific decision, and we're gonna put him in the killing jar, and that's the end of the hamster"? Were you sad? Were you distraught, or were these just your marching orders?
Yeah, I was sad. I was distraught. I was a really emotional kid, so I was sad, and I was trying really hard not to be very scientific and listen to my grandmother and know that the hamster was sick and we were putting it out of its misery. But it was awful. It was little Fluffy or whatever its name was, and I put it in. And me put it in the jar, and I was talking to it, and I put the lid on, and
And Jennifer, what was it like for your grandmother to bring her patients into your house? Was she like, "Okay, this is a patient of mine, so we're gonna," or there's a scene where the grandmother says to the kids, one of the kids can be dangerous, so be careful, and good luck. Was your grandmother like, "Hey, these are my patients, be gentle, be careful," or just was like, "This is our friend Tom"? What was that like?
Yeah,
it was fathomable now.
No, we knew they were her patients, and it was just like, put on your nice clothes, be on your best behavior, be polite. There were never any warnings or anything like that. It was more like, just be on your best behavior, treat them well, and dress nicely. Don't be such a wreck. Don't run around and run off into the woods and come home all filthy.
Wow. Okay. So good to know. I'm picturing your house. Was your grand's advice to young Jennifer? That's so funny. Okay. So many questions coming in. Okay. Karen would like she's so excited to read this book, and she would like to know, what is the hardest part for you when writing a novel? Great question, Karen.
That is a great question. What is the hardest part? It depends. Every book has its own challenges for sure. But when I'm about halfway through a draft, the first draft of any book, I always reach this point where I decide that it is the worst piece of crap I've ever written, and that I'm never going to be able to finish this book, and it's a terrible idea, and what was I thinking? And I go into this slump where I'm full of self-loathing, and I think I can't do this anymore. I'm washed up. I can't do it. And then I go and I tell my family, I tell my partner and my daughter, and they say, "You're about halfway through, right? You do this every time. Take a walk, have a cup of coffee, and go sit back at the desk. You'll be fine." So yeah, I think the hardest part is kind of, I get caught up in self-doubt still, even now after this is my 11th book, and I have these periods where I hit a wall and I think, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this again," but then I power through.
And how do you power through? Is it just when you hit that hard point that Karen's talking about, and you're saying that you're just riddled? I mean, who can relate to that? We all have those moments where we just feel so low, the worst ever. What are we doing? And everyone else would die if they would know what a mess we are. Do you just sit down and say, "Jennifer McMahon, this is your 11th book, do it"? Or is it you power through on coffee and a prayer? Or what's it look like?
Oh, lots of different things. You know, I give myself little pep talks. Sometimes it's all about bribery. If I finish this, I can have that latte and chocolate bar that's sitting on my desk waiting for me. Sometimes it's about trying something new. Sometimes it's about shutting down the computer and opening up my notebook and trying to write, you know, in my notebook instead of on the computer. Sometimes I jump to like what I think of as an easier scene. Like if I'm stuck in the scene that I'm working on now, and I know there's a scene I'm really excited to write coming up, I'll just skip ahead and I'll go to the scene I'm really excited to work on, and I'll dive into that. And I can always go back later to the part I got stuck on. I can jump around.
Okay, cool. Okay. Karen, thank you for the great question. And Jennifer, thank you for your authenticity and your transparency and for being so real with us. It's amazing to me that 11 books in and being so accomplished as you are, it's heartening to know that you're still human like us and having these doubts. I love to know that. Thank you. Melissa says the twist dropped my jaw on the floor. I never saw it coming. So let's talk about the twist without any spoilers, obviously. Do you plot them all out? Are you like, okay, page 15, first twist, page 75, big twist, page 125, finale twist? I mean, or are you just like reading and thinking, oh, I could use a twist right about now. I mean, how do you do the twists?
Yeah, the twists I feel like have to come sort of authentically to the story. Like in this book, in Children on the Hill, I knew the big twist pretty early on, and I knew that it was going to be. I knew about where it was going to be in the book, but I try to have a little climax or twist at the end. I write loosely following the 3-act structure, and I try to have a little something at the end of each act. So, but I'm not thinking about that while I'm writing my first draft. I think about that later. Like I write my first draft. I know I've got some high points and low points, and I know about where twists are and when things are going to end, like where the acts end and begin. But I don't really know all that until I've written my really messy first draft and printed it out and put it on the floor and reorganized it and started like figuring out the actual structure. And once I've got my first draft, then I really think about where to place these things. And I know that I want to end acts with a little bit of a bang or a revelation or a big, there's the midpoint climax where I want to have something that just turns everything on its head and makes people go, whoa. And yeah, and sometimes I do that at the end of the book too. And sometimes I do it partway through. You never know where I'm going to do that.
Yes.
For me, it has to feel authentic to the story, and I have to like weave in little things that like everything in the book has to lead up to it in a logical way. Otherwise, people are going to read it and feel kind of manipulated, I think.
Oh, yeah, because you don't want people to feel manipulated, but you don't want them to guess what it is on page 10. But you don't want them to get to, and I don't even know how many pages this is, page 323, and think, what? You don't want, so that's a fine line. Thank you.
It is. And sometimes, and I don't want to be too heavy-handed because I know that my readers are really smart and astute and are going to pick up on the little clues that I'm dropping along the way. So I want to drop a few clues. I want to have them go, oh, and even like look back and realize everything was there and that it totally makes sense, but not so. I don't need to hit people over the head, I don't think.
Right. Exactly. Karen is saying, I'm such a huge fan. The first book I ever read was Dismantled, and I fell in love with your storytelling. Yay. Jennifer is such a special and such a talented storyteller. And there is something that across all the stories that is so uniquely her. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Karen. I love that too. Thank you for sharing what it means to you. Love to know that. Oh no, Christina's is still not showing up. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. This is coming from Christina Cook, one of our 2 fierce, fabulous founders of Bitchy Bookworms, the hottest, best group on Facebook. And she said she has a question. What goes into writing a book like this with all the medical stuff? Did you have a doctor you would bounce your questions off of? Great question, Christina.
That is a good question. I did not bounce anything off of a doctor, so hopefully I didn't get anything too wrong. I did the research myself. My partner's a nurse. I go to her with all medical questions usually, and if there's something she can't answer, we find someone who can. And I relied on the internet a lot and on books and my own research and my own memory of sort of what growing up with my grandmother was like and the strange things that we did, the chloroform jar and things like that. yeah, and I did a lot of research about, psychiatric hospitals,
Mm.
what one might find in them and at different time periods. And yeah, and so the hospital, the Hillside Inn in the book it was a Civil War hospital, and then it was a tuberculosis hospital, and then it became this private psychiatric institution. And so
Mhm.
the building itself had a lot of history and was really important to me, and I wanted to really create the universe and the history of this building. And me and my haunted buildings. I love writing about creepy Gothic buildings, and I have this idea that places hold memories of everything that ever happened there before. So I wanted to make the building its own character.
Mm.
The building is. Oh, I'm not hearing you.
So sorry. I was getting a little feedback there, so I muted myself.
There you go.
Okay, so let me just see. Someone else is saying that they absolutely loved it. Yay. Oh, Marcy and Kegel, our other founder of Bitchy Bookworms, are two fierce, fabulous founders, both huge fans of yours, both in the audience tonight. Marcy, thank you so much, saying she absolutely loved it. So I just want to let you ladies know, if you're watching, try clicking if you want us to see, you can say mysterious, very on brand, or you can, I'm putting the link in the comments, you can click it and try again to enable permissions. I'm so sorry, I don't know why this isn't working. Facebook and its privacy settings are crazy. Ooh, and that creepy house. This is from Christina Cook again. She would like to know, did you see a house that inspired this whole story? Seriously, I freaking loved it.
Oh, that's so great to hear. It wasn't inspired on any one particular house. It was, inspired bits and pieces of old houses and old hospitals. I'm fascinated by like old abandoned hospitals, and
Yeah, they're creepy.
in general. Yeah. In Vermont, we have the old Vermont State Hospital complex that isn't in use anymore because it was pretty much destroyed in the flood, I think. But it was a creepy series of buildings. It was, and I had the opportunity to go in there years ago and wander around, and they had tunnels connecting the buildings, like underground tunnels between the different buildings. It was a creepy place, creepy, creepy, creepy.
That is so creepy. Yikes. Underground tunnels in a hospital. I mean,
it was creepy. It was a creepy place.
Yeah, super creepy. Oh my God. Melissa Watson would like to know, was it hard to keep the story authentic within the two time periods? Yeah, so you've got one set in present day, one set in 1978. What was that? What were you how did that work?
Yeah, I kind of moved easily for me back and forth between the two of them. I rely on my notes and my index card outline to kind of make sure I'm going back and forth and pacing things the way that I want to. I hope that I kept it authentic. I worked hard to try. I didn't some people ask if I write all of the one time period first and then the other time period, but I don't. I go back and forth between the two. And I find that as I'm writing, one will feed the other, like what's happening in the present will kind of feed what I have happening next in 1978, and sort of the way the past storyline echoes in the present day. I really enjoy that. And I get that a lot when I'm moving back and forth. And it was especially fun to, write about this place, the inn, and then in the 1978, and then at the end of the book, we come back to it and see what it's like now, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I was picturing you sort of, in your bell bottoms and velour, rocking out to the Eagles, just trying to stay in that 70s vibe, but then, trying to get to the 2019 vibe too. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Doing the research for the 70s and kind of going back, taking the time machine way back, and like talking to my brother and figuring out like what games we actually played and thinking about the music that we grew up with. And in the book, the grandmother listens to a lot of Neil Diamond. So I listened to a lot of Neil Diamond while I was working on the book, and had fun remembering the days of playing like Hungry Hippos and Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and playing with my Light Bright set, and eating things out of the crock pot and Jello parfaits and things with wide stripes.
Right, exactly. Velour, flannel, plaid, all very big.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Elizabeth, welcome to the conversation. She said, hello, Jennifer. I am on the list for your newest one at the library, but I enjoy the creepy tone you set in the novels like Winter People. Is setting especially important to you? And thank you for answering my question.
Oh, thank you for the question, Elizabeth. Setting is so important to me. Oh my gosh. I see setting as being like a character of its own. I put a lot of effort into my settings. So much so that, when I do character studies for all the characters in my books, but I also do a character study for the setting where I do a fun thing where I like personify the setting and I ask it the same questions I would ask my characters, like, what secrets are you keeping? What's the one thing you've never told anyone? What do you want most? What do you fear most? So I totally do that. And I did that for the end. And it
Yes.
was fun. I got a lot of good answers when I asked those questions. And yeah, and I just think that setting, it sets the tone and the mood of the book, and it's affecting the characters in ways that they're not even aware of. And it's so important.
I love this idea of writing these letters and then seeing what comes up. What a fascinating and fabulous process. Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing. Christina has another great question. Christina Cook would like to know, do you write one book at a time or do you always have a bunch going once? Yes. So Jennifer, you are a productive writer. You were on last April. You're back again this April to our delight. How do you have many pots on that stove? What's it like?
I do, and I love that you just said many pots on the stove, because that's exactly how I think of it. I think of it like cooking. I've got like the burners. I've got the front burner project, which is the book that will come out next, and that's what I'm putting most of my energy and attention on. But I've always got many things simmering away on the back burners. And the cool thing about doing that is that when I get stuck, if I hit a wall or I get completely stuck with the front burner book, or if the front burner book is like at a stage where it's with my agent or my editor, or with a copy editor is being worked on, then I can pull another project forward and work on that for a while. And often if I'm stuck on a book, if I just put it away and I work on something else, the answer will come to me for what I need to do for that first book. It's kind of a crazy way to work. I'm jumping around, and usually it works out. And sometimes, though, I have what I call shiny object syndrome. Where, I'll get to that halfway point where I think everything sucks and I'm washed out, and I won't want to work on that front burner book, and I'll have this great idea. I mean, like, oh my gosh, there's this tiny idea that I really want to run with. And it's very tempting to just throw all my energy into that. And I need to stop myself and just work on it a little bit, write it down, get a few basic ideas down, and then try to sit back down and get to work on the book that I'm supposed to be working on.
Yes, because as someone who loves to cook, I'm familiar with that. Put the back one on the simmer, bring it up to a boil, put it back on the back burner, take it down to a simmer, bring the front one up. I mean, you're rotating around those 4 burners. And
sometimes I'll work on something that ends up not going anywhere. And like actually during the pandemic, I wrote a book that was, I don't know what's going to happen with it. It took me quite a while to write. And I finished it, and it's not great. It's not a great book. I'm not happy with it. So I've put it away for now. But it took a lot of my time and energy. But it's away for now, and it's okay. It's okay.
How far did you get in? Like how many words, how many pages?
It's like 90,000 words, I think. Like
I
have a whole finished draft. And it was one of those things that like, it just didn't, my gut was telling me something was wrong with it, but I kept pushing and kept pushing. I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. I can fix this. Whatever the problem is, I can fix it. And I got to the end and I printed it and I looked at it and I was like, I don't know how to fix this right now, but don't worry, because I will someday. I'm sure of it. So I've put it away, and I never throw anything away. I feel like I'm missing something, and whatever that thing is will come to me when the time is right. So I don't consider it wasted time.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I love hearing this sneak peek into your process. I also have a manuscript I put away, and I think to myself, and I wasn't that far, and I think it was 55,000 words, but I thought to myself, maybe someday I'll come back, like old friend, like just wait for me. Karen would like to know, she says, most of your books take place in Vermont. Have you ever thought about creating your own haunting universe or connecting characters from previous novels? Ooh, cool question, Karen.
That is a cool question, and I have thought about it. I wish I'd been thinking about it from the beginning, because I totally would have like done it had I realized that I was going to be setting all my books in Vermont. But I haven't done that yet. But who knows what the future holds? I might end up doing that. We'll see. But I've thought that it would be cool to like mention, sort of the universe where characters hear what happened in another town. Like, oh, you heard about what happened over there. Yeah, I think it could work. I think it could be fun, sort of creating this whole other little universe. I like it.
I like it too.
I thought about it. I haven't done anything with it, but who knows? And Stephen King does that really well. I'm in awe of him doing that. Yeah.
In the next state over, up there in Maine, just living in his kingdom. You could be living in your McMahondom. That would be fabulous. Now, Jennifer, last time you were on, speaking of Vermont, you shared that you went to a covered bridge, which may or may not have been haunted. Talking about the haunting universe of Jennifer McMahon in Vermont, you went to this covered bridge, and it may or may not have been haunted. Can you share that interaction that you had with the otherworldly, and have there been any other ghostly encounters up there in Vermont?
I have not been back to the bridge since that night that I heard the little laughter. I went with my daughter. It was around Halloween, and we went and we're taking pictures and on a supposedly haunted bridge. It was Emily's Bridge in Stowe, and it's quite well known for being haunted. And we went and took pictures, and nothing really happened. And then we were on our way to leave in the car, and we were sitting on the car, and we had the windows down, and the everything was open. And we both very distinctly heard a young woman laugh, like from right behind the car, and it scared us so much. And I have not been back. No, my daughter Zella wants to go back, and I told her she can go with her friends. I'm too much of a
Oh my God. All the hairs on the back of my neck just stuff. I got a shiver. Hearing that laugh. I like how you sent her back. You're like, go ahead, report back. I'll wait here.
Here. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Here, take a video camera. We'll be live stream it. I'll be watching from right here with my popcorn.
Yeah. No, I'm such a big chicken. I really am. And I do. I try to explore all these places that people say are haunted, and I go and I check them out. But it makes me nervous. I try to keep I look, but I don't stay too long, and I try to be really respectful. And
yeah, I think respectful is the best way to go. Just
absolutely.
Oh my God. Okay, Christina Cook. She says last one, then I will shut up. No, Christina, we love your questions. Keep them coming, lady. She says, without giving away any spoilers, would you ever consider writing a kind of spin-off or sequel with how it ended and how it opened up that whole other story?
Ooh,
good question.
I hadn't considered that, but that could be really fun.
Oh my God. If you do that, you have to dedicate it to Christina Cook. You have to, or put her in the acknowledgments, because right now we're watching the moment of inception.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. And I've thought about it in my head. My characters go on and live on in my head, and I wonder about them, kind of like you wonder about like college roommates and old friends. Like, what do you think they're up to now? And I wonder, with how I left things off, I wonder what everyone's up to now. And I have my imagination takes me places when I think about it. So that could be really fun. I love it. Thank you.
Oh my God, Christina Cook, imagine if that happened and you suggested it. We all watched it. This would be the coolest thing ever. We could see this moment in the book. Oh my God, I would love that. I would love that. And here's Christina. She's found a way to get us to see her profile. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I have a bunch of screens open here, so I can see her profile on my phone, but not everything. She says, if you do, please name a really, really crazy blonde after me and one named after Marcy. Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I would die. I would be so happy. This would be amazing. I would absolutely love this. I'm freaking out. Who else is freaking out with me? Okay. These events just keep getting cooler and cooler. Christina is saying she loves you so much.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay. Margaret Pinard joining us live from Portland, Oregon, saying, I was just listening to the stories of tunnels in an insane asylum, turned DEP building in Maine. I don't know what DEP. Oh, Department of Energy and Protection, Environmental Protection. Oh, maybe Department of Environmental Protection building in Maine for Milltown. Okay, I've never heard of that, but I will be Googling and tuning in after this.
Yeah.
She's saying light bright, fabulous.
Light bright. Yes, remember those light brights? Oh, they were so much fun.
Yay. She said secrets of the setting. I love that. Melissa saying 70s fondues. Oh my God, that's peak 70s fondues. Yes. Oh my God. Now I want some delicious melted cheese. Margaret would like to know, what if you're stuck on the, okay, so we're getting back to the shiny object syndrome. What if you're stuck on the distracting project or the one after that, not asking for a friend?
Yeah. Then it's the cooking thing. I keep rotating. And usually by the time I get stuck on the one that's distracting, that's the distracting project, I'll have an idea for the one that I'm supposed to be working on. And it's, the beauty of being able to jump from thing to thing. I have other little tricks. When I know that I need to be working on a book and I need to actually, I will tell myself, okay, I'm going to work on my main work in progress now. And I'll set a goal. I'll set I'm going to write at least 1,000 words. And so I'll sit down and I'll do that. I also have a chicken timer. I'm looking to see if it's here on my desk. And it is, look, this is my #1 productivity tool. It's a chicken timer. So if I'm having a really hard time getting my butt in the chair and writing, I will set my chicken timer for like 20 minutes or half an hour. And the chicken is not to be messed with, right? So the chicken I take very seriously. I turn off the internet, so no Wi-Fi. I sit down and I write until the timer dings. And then I take a little break. I get up, I stretch, I get a cup of coffee, and then I'll set my timer again. And after a few rounds of that, I am usually back in the world of the story. But yeah, my boss, the chicken timer.
You saw it here first, folks. The wonder of the chicken timer. I've never seen a chicken timer. So I love that the chicken timer is the boss of you, Jennifer McMahon. That's fabulous.
I tell myself I can do anything for 15 or 20 minutes, right? You can do anything.
That's true. It's like the Pomodoro method, the tomato timer, except you're the chicken
timer.
It's like
that. I have a chicken. Exactly. And that's the chicken Pomodoro method is like 20 minutes and then a 5-minute break. And then, but after a few cycles, I'm back into the world of the book and I don't need the chicken timer and I'm okay.
Yeah, I think you probably shouldn't say that too loud. The chicken timer might hear you.
No, I know. It's good.
Yeah, you gotta pay homage to the chicken.
Yes.
Leslie saying, I love your writing style. I love your atmosphere and I love your books. I think you have the best approach to atmosphere. High praise there from Leslie in Canada. Canadian Leslie, as we like to call her. She would like to know what gives you your ideas for your books. Yeah, this is crazy. How'd you come up with it?
Ideas are all around me. I've got ideas going all the time. So this book, I started out with just the idea. All I knew when I sat down to write this book was that I wanted to explore the theme of monsters and monstrousness and what is a monster. And I had the character of Vi, and I knew that I was going to set it in the 70s, and there was going to be a psychiatrist grandmother. So a lot of it was sort of based on my own life and my own memories, and sort of reflecting on that and trying to answer some of the questions that I have spent my whole life asking, like, what is a monster? Why are we so fascinated and drawn to monsters? What do they have to teach us, about ourselves? So that was sort of the inspiration for starting this book. And books, inspiration comes from all different, my last book, The Drowning Kind, I was inspired by a memory I had of going to a really creepy swimming pool.
And that was one creepy swimming pool, Jennifer. Holy crap.
Yeah. So and I always know, there's a certain feeling I get, that kind of like tingle on the back of the neck when I have an idea or I remember something that happened to me or something just pops into my brain. I'm like, oh, I want to write about that. I want to explore that further. And I want to try to, ask questions and try to answer them and work them out on the page. And I want to take one of my fears and share it with you, all of you people. Yeah.
So, well, they are chilling. So thank you for that. You scared us good, Jennifer, but we love it so much. Melissa would like to know, what are your personal thoughts? Oh, great question. And so applicable to this book. on nature versus nurture. I found myself thinking a lot about this and certain characters in the book as I read. It's such an interesting topic. Jennifer.
Yeah, I still have a lot of questions on nature versus nurture. And that was one of the things that I was exploring as I was writing. I think that they both play an important role, and it's an interesting concept. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like when I set out to write a book and I think about things like nature versus nurture, I come away with more questions than answers. So in some ways I might feel sort of more like, I'm not really sure now than I was when I went into it. I think I thought I had more of an opinion on it before I started. Does that make sense? Yeah. Am I sounding like
Yeah. Thank you for that great question, Melissa, really getting right in there. Lindsay, welcome to the conversation. She said, she would like to know, do you ever miss your previous characters and wonder what they would be up to or how their stories would consider? So yeah, continue. So 11 books in, are you still thinking about anyone, Jennifer?
Yeah, I totally think about my characters. It's like I said earlier, it's really like, for me, it feels like wondering how an old college friend or roommate is doing. I'm like, oh, so-and-so, I think about, from my very first book, Promise Not to Tell, I think about Kate and Nikki, and I wonder, did they ever get together? How are they? How are they doing now? What's going on? What's going on with Opal? Yeah, I do. I think about my characters a lot, and I often leave my characters in kind of a precarious or interesting situation. When you close the last page, you're like, wow, I leave some doors open and some possibilities. And so part of my mind it goes back there from time to time, and I wonder what they might be up to and what trouble they're getting into. And I every now and then I'm drawn to write a sequel and revisit. I don't know if I'd have the attention span to do, like, I know people who write series, and I don't know that I would have the attention span to do it, but I can definitely see the appeal of wanting to go back and see how certain characters are doing now, for sure, because I wonder about them.
Do you ever do that journaling thing that you do, asking, hey, Kate and Nikki, what are you up to? And see what answers.
Don't, but I'm totally going to now, Sarah. Thank you.
Well, please report back.
But I want to do that now. And
Yay.
I want to do that now. And I want to do that with this book and see like how, I want to see how people are doing at the end of this.
Yeah, I think we all do, and we all will. Everybody, this book is not even out yet, so this is an exclusive pre-launch event here on Mystery and Thriller Mavens to give us the scoop on The Children on the Hill. The book is out tomorrow, y'all. So grab your copy now. I'm going to put the link in the comments. So pre-order now from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book, and get Children on the Hill, and then come over to Mystery and Thriller Mavens and where the real tea is spilled, as the cool kids say. And let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of Vi and Iris and Eric and Gran and Lizzie and all of these fabulous characters. So free and open to all. Come join and continue the conversation, because you're not going to want to miss out. It's so good. And there's so much to think about. There's so much to chat about. Anissa, welcome to the conversation, saying, hello, Sarah and Jennifer. Sorry I'm late. Anissa, you're right on time. And for anyone who's joining now, the replay will be up forever. So you will have time. You will have time to rewatch. So no worries about this. Anissa said, would like to know, Jennifer, what is your favorite part of the writing process? Is it research, writing, or editing? Great question, Anissa.
It's writing. It's the writing. It's writing the first draft, because I never know what's going to happen, because I don't plot or plan, and I'm writing to find out what's going to happen next. So that's my favorite part. It's just this rush to find a doorway and open the doorway into the world and kind of get lost and not know where I'm going to end up by the end of the day. I sit down at the desk and I don't know where my characters are going to take me or what's going to happen or what monsters we may or may not encounter along the way. So yeah, but I do enjoy the research, and I enjoy editing. I enjoy all of it, but my favorite part is writing that rough draft, because I don't know what's going to happen next, and it's exciting for me.
Does the uncertainty feel perilous to you? I'm a person who likes certainty because there's so much uncertainty out there, Jennifer. I need certainty.
Oh, I know. Sometimes it does. Sometimes, yeah. And sometimes I wonder, is this really going to go anywhere? Or are we just going to go in circles? But usually it goes somewhere. And the things that don't, I put them away for a little while and eventually I'll figure it out. But yeah, and I can see that there's a certain comfort in certainty and in knowing where things are going to go. But I have to trust that my characters and the story will kind of show me the way and show me where it wants to go. I have to trust the process. I think
trust
the characters, trust the process.
I love that. I love that. Canadian Leslie saying, I love your fears. Speaking for all of us. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
I've got a lot of them. I've got a lot of fears. Yeah. When I teach writing workshops, one of the exercises I do is I have people write down start a list of fears. I think everyone should all writers should start a list of fears and just keep it. It's an ongoing list. Mine is very, very long. And, because I feel like when we look at those fears and tap into them, some powerful stuff can come out of that. So, yeah.
I feel like I would need there may not be enough paper in the world. My list is long, Jennifer. Real long.
Well, my list it grows all the time.
Yeah.
Last night I had this crazy dream that I was driving down the highway and cows started flying out of the sky, like big, like life-size cows. And it sounds absurd, but in the dream it was terrifying. So now I have a new fear of like giant cows falling from the sky. Yeah,
okay, now I have a fear that I have too many fears. So the fear list just keeps going. Good question, Melissa. She says, if this is my first book of yours, where should I go from here? What should I read next? So Jennifer, what do you think? Should we start with book 1 and go through book 10 now if someone has started with book 11, or should they go 11 back to 1? What do you think? Or just random order? What do you advise?
I think random. I think whatever. I think, go to a bookstore, pick it up, look at the back, see if it sounds interesting, and go for it. I think that I love this book. I recommend everyone reading this. I think that it might be my best book. So I would start with Children on the Hill, and then I don't know. What other people think? I don't know.
Oh yeah. Okay. So here on the show, I always say I connect people to their favorite authors and introduce them to their next favorite author. So this is your if this is your first Jennifer McMahon book, thank you for letting us know, Melissa. So I just posted a link in the comments of Jennifer's backlist. So so you can click on that link and you'll see her previous 10 books, and then you can peruse them and add them to your cart right there at Murder by the Book. Just add. If you are a dedicated fan of Jennifer's, let us know what you think Melissa should go for next. I'm going to vote for The Drowning Kind, just because we were talking about that earlier with that creepy swimming pool. And also, I think that The Drowning Kind may have the most beautiful book cover I have ever seen in my life. I mean, it's so beautiful. It was so fun for me to take pictures of last year. So I am that shallow. I will judge a book by its cover. So I'm voting for Drowning Kind. Let us know what you guys think. What do you think for Melissa? Let's get a team effort going here. Okay, just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's last questions here. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my goodness. I saw we are way over our time, but time flies when you're having fun. So y'all, I just want to remind you, this book is not even out yet. Okay. It is out tomorrow. Jennifer's coming on here to give us the skinny, give us the scoop. That's what we like here. So pre-order it tonight. And then pre-order it now. And here you go. Here's the link. And then come join us in Mystery and Thriller Ravers, and let's continue the conversation about all things mystery and thriller. Jennifer, what is one thing you would like to confess here on Mystery and Thriller Ravers? Something you wish I'd asked, something you just want to share, perhaps another fear, maybe falling cows, maybe something else. What do you want to lay out here?
I will tell you that I am working on a book now that I have put off working on for a very long time. I get asked a lot, what is the one thing that you're not going to write about, that you're too afraid to write about?
Yeah.
And my answer is always loud and clear: demons. I will never write about demons.
Yeah.
And I am working on a book that may or may not have a demon in it. And I'm facing my demon fear, Sara. I'm writing. So that's what I'll share, is that I'm working on a book it's scaring me very much. It's probably scaring me more than any book I've ever written, because it's like a big fear of mine. Yeah.
The big fear of all of ours. So Jennifer, how do you scare yourself? I mean, do you have to say like, oh, so for instance, when I watch something scary on TV or if I read a scary book, I tell myself, this is when I'm going to put it down. And then I watch Friends reruns to sort of just as a palate cleanser, just to bring the energy up. I'm like, there's safety in the world of Ross and Rachel, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a fear palate cleanser, or are you unfazable? I mean, how do you get to bed? How do you get to sleep?
I think I probably need a fear palate cleanser. I turn it off. I try to do other things. I cook. I talk with my family. I go for walks. And I scare myself both when I'm reading, because I love scary books and scary movies, and I get terrified. And I scare myself when I'm writing. This book in particular, and parts of Children on the Hill when I was writing it, really scared me. And and I can always tell, but I feel like as I'm writing, if I'm getting scared, then that's the good stuff. So I don't really want to stop. I want to keep going. But then when I'm done, I need to shut down the computer and kind of try to put it away and focus on real life things and go play with my dog. That's one thing I do, is I go play fetch with my dog in the park. And the world is good, because how could the world not be good when you're throwing a tennis ball for a lab,
Exactly. Or I'm petting little Palu's tiny pink belly. I mean, it's just the best thing ever.
That helps a lot.
But it's good to know that you do scare yourself.
I do.
Yeah. And
I don't know if other people, and I've talked to other people who write scary stuff, and they don't scare themselves. It's not all of them. Some do.
Well, maybe they're not scary enough. I
don't. It's scary. I'm easily spooked.
I'm a chicken. I'm also easily spooked. So Jennifer, you live in Vermont, and you have been drawing comparisons and praise to the incredible Shirley Jackson, a pioneer in the horror realm. What does that mean to you as a woman writer, in Vermont? I mean, to be compared to her and have your work likened to her. Tell us about that.
I am just so totally honored, because she is a huge influence, and I love her. I love everything she has ever done. My favorite is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I feel like Shirley Jackson does creepy atmosphere like no one else. And she also writes about the whole outsider thing better than anyone else, and I love that. I just love the way that she does it. And she was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And yes, another Vermonter. She was in Bennington. And so I am completely honored when anyone puts my name and hers in the same sentence. I'm just floored and honored and absolutely thrilled.
Yay. Well, Publishers Weekly and Kirkus awarding you star reviews. Congratulations on that, and on all of the other rave reviews that I am seeing. WBUR, amazing praise from Lit Reactor. I mean, the list just goes on, and I put all of the library reads. Amazing praise. So thank you. Congratulations on this. Amazing. It is earned. And it is so great to see you continuing to shine. Jennifer, thank you for coming on and for giving us the inside scoop the night before your book comes out. Everybody grab your copy tonight. You are going to want to sink your teeth into this tasty read. And Jennifer, since you're already working on your next book, you busy, amazingly productive writer, I guess, can we count on seeing you next spring with your next book?
Oh, I hope so. We'll see. We'll see how fast I can write.
Okay. Well, get those fingers flying over the keyboard. Thank you for coming on, and we will look forward to hosting you whenever your next book is out. No rush and no pressure. But thank you, as always. You are a pleasure to host. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Marcy Ann Cagle and Christina Cook, the founders of Bitchy Bookworms, the biggest, hottest, most engaging book group on the internet these days. I'm so grateful for my partnership with them and to my partners in crime at Murder by the Book. Anissa saying, thank you, ladies. Elizabeth saying, thank you, Jennifer, and congratulations. What a pleasure to have you all here. And I will see you next Monday for #Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Everybody have a great night.